Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Shannon's Shelf. I am Shannon. Today, I'm going to talk about some letters written by Mark Twain. Okay, so these were published posthumously, although written relatively later in his career. He had a daughter pass away in 1896. His wife passed away in 1904, and then another daughter passed away, I believe, in 1909. And he was upset, as one can imagine. I've never been through anything like that. The I've had a low points in my life. One, obviously, the low point in my life that I'm not going to go into detail. But I did not respond the same way he did. Now, Mark Twain is a witty, I would say he's smart. He's a witty guy. He's smart. Uh, he does not believe in God like I do. But Letters from the Earth, he takes the role of Satan, writing letters to fellow archangels about the ridiculous nature of human religion, specifically religious Christian dogma and Christianity. Now, I actually don't subscribe to a branch of Christianity that a lot of this was applicable to. Um, I didn't really take any of it personally. I will say a lot of people like this. This is like his great atheistic argument, and he does end with the problem of evil, which essentially, I would say, probably generally considered the big argument against theism. I mean, I have arguments against it, but not really my own. They've been made by other people too that are way more articulate than I am. But I am a believer, so that's that's where I sit, and I didn't find it convincing in any way. And I could see some people being upset or offended, especially when the beliefs are some of them are odd. I mean, and he is funny, and some of the beliefs of Christianity, at least some certain denominations, I I would say go into the ridiculous, but he's definitely not arguing in good faith. This is not what you can call, in many ways, a serious argument until he gets to the problem of evil. Uh, he's kind of just like an angry redditor, I think, in many ways, and he's devastated. He's having a terrible, terrible, terrible time. I cannot imagine, to be honest. While I was reading it, I kind of just felt bad for him. Not kind of. I felt bad for him. I I respect Mr. Twain. In fact, you could say I'm fond of him, even if I've only read two books. And I read this in preparation for reading 13 Twain works over the next 12 months of 2025. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, I'm starting at the beginning of his career, and I know he's supposed to have been a more mindful person by the end of his career, which will hopefully be demonstrated. I can't say for certain, that's just what I've heard. But he's always had some sort of problem with religion. And this is like him, letting him have it because he's like, how can you say your God loves me if he allowed my wife and daughters to die? And there are uh, really, really, really horrific examples of human suffering throughout history. He gives one that is absolutely like sickening, but it's happened. And I mean, I've read Dostoevsky, and he does a similar thing in his chapter called "Judgment" from the Brothers Karamazov, which is a horrific chapter. In fact, I would recommend everyone reads it. I would also recommend you read the chapter right after it called "The Grand Inquisitor." Letters from the Earth, very quick read. He makes Satan like to be kind of like a good guy, not in like a Miltonian way, but in a relatively Miltonian way. Obviously, he Satan is the enemy to Christianity, and he's not. He doesn't mention himself. He doesn't mention really the Christians' belief on him. Like, and without Satan, lots of it doesn't make any sense. Some of it doesn't make sense anyway for some Christian, a lot of mainstream Christian denominations. I don't take this personally, mainstream Christians. I'm not trying to offend you. And many things don't have to make sense to many people. I mean, the indigenous people didn't make any sense to the Europeans, and the Europeans uh, didn't make any sense to the indigenous people that they were colonizing and stuff like that. So that's just the way of the world. Mythologies vary drastically. And some mythologies, almost all mythologies, have God. In fact, every mythology deals with God. Every theology deals with God. Even atheism deals with God. Some are much more earnest, honest, and in good faith than others. And that's true for atheists, and that's true for Christians, that's true for everyone. I think we should try to be in good faith. Try to love our neighbor and mourn with those that mourn, even Mr. Twain, who is full of vitriol towards others, at least in his letters from the earth. But I would recommend people read it, put simply. I don't know if I'm going to reread it ever, or at least not anytime soon. It just kind of made me depressed, just because I don't see this as being the appropriate reaction to things, but I see it as being a very human reaction to things, and how can I knock a human for being human in many ways, right? But either way, I didn't want to talk too much about it. If you are interested in reading Twain, read Letters from the Earth. You can join me on the read along that I'll be doing all 2025. We'll be reading more stuff on Twain, even if it's not explicitly religious. He will have a religious commentary. In some of them, I'm sure he will. Always the humorist. But either way, I've been Shannon's. Well, I've been Shannon. I'm not Shannon Shell. I've been Shannon, and I will see you guys next time, hopefully with a relatively not somber thing. I felt like this was a relatively somber topic. I was a little worried about going into too much detail, but this isn't a channel for religion. I must talk about the books I read. I do happen to read some books that deal with faith and theology and whatnot, and I try not to shy away from talking about those things. So either way, again, please have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Monday and Thursdays, of course, are when my videos come out, sometimes on Saturdays too. So please feel free to subscribe so you can catch those. And yeah, that'd be great. Have a good one again.